Welcome to Beyond Names. I'm Dr. Habīb. This is a space for spiritual seekers and soulful misfits, for the curious and the committed, for those grounded in a tradition and those who are not sure what they believe. Whether you call the divine Allah, Yahweh, Nirvana, Elohim, Brahman, higher power, source, spirit, great mystery, or you're still searching for language that fits, you are welcome here. Together, we will explore the intersection of spirituality and daily life, the wisdom of many traditions, and the ways we return to our true selves, to our source, to the light we carry within. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Artist and former Imam Abdul Karim Pinckney, also known as the Man of Real, is co-hosting with me today. Again, we are co-hosting so we can have fruitful conversations about important topics. So Abdul Karim, thank you for being here. You've recently released two new albums, Project Inspire, which you wrote and performed, and Manipulations of the Unreal, which you wrote and is AI performed. And you can find both albums on the themanofreal.net, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. All right. So, and our topic for today is coming from, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a song called Grateful on the Project Inspire album. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about the song, maybe your process in getting to it, and then sharing it with us.
Sure. So, the song was a real blessing to do because it is a reflection over not just my life, but my family's life and the trials we faced and still coming out grateful. And I was extremely grateful for this song because I asked my youngest daughter to sing the chorus for me, and she did, and it was my first song ever with any of my daughters, and so that brought a special amount of gratitude from my heart when she did the recording of the chorus. And so that's it in a nutshell. And so I'll just play it along right here so you can all hear it and get a feel for it.
Right.
Okay.
We gotta have an attitude of gratitude and watch the blessings increase in magnitude.
Living in this life is priceless, what a gift. So many live their life and don't see what it is. God help us to pay heed to what you tell us, cause I'm tired of what these devils in the world be trying to sell us. I ain't buying, deep in my heart I know they lying, designing schemes, power vying fiends, try to make ingratitude a constant part of my being. I got health, I got shelter, I got food, I got safety, I got awareness of you, I got clothing, I got family, I got friends. If I count the blessings of Allah, the counting never ends. Come on y'all, we know what it is, stop playing games, tricks for kids. Gotta be grateful just for the fact that we exist. Gotta be grateful just for the fact that we exist.
I'm so grateful, yes, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I'm so grateful, yes, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful.
Which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? How do we return the love that God supplies? We forever deficient, yet that doesn't stop his giving. Everything existing is absolutely dependent, but do we believe it, receive it and retrieve it, spread it generously or selfishly try to keep it? I confess I'm a work in progress, even in my nonsense. I hope that God bless, infuse gratitude into my conscience, and make true these words as they come from my chest. and make true these words as they come from my chest.
I'm so grateful, yes, I'm so grateful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I'm so grateful, yes, I'm so grateful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful.
We've been through drama, we've been through trauma, we've been humiliated, we've been dishonored, we've been on top, and we also been conquered. Amazing phases of life we faced and moved onward. Never alone, though we might appear to be. The presence of the present is nearer than me to me. Unchanging reality behind the changing scenery. The hidden treasure can express what you mean to me. Help me keep on seeking, keep on reaching till you're pleased with my development and pleased with my completion. When it comes to prayers, I got a plate full. Through it all, dear Lord, make me grateful.
I'm so grateful, yes, I'm so grateful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I'm
See,
so
saying I'm grateful sounds like a claim,
so grateful,
but it's not.
I'm grateful,
What I am is with Him.
I'm grateful.
It's just a prayer for Him to make true. What I want for me, I want for you. Dear Lord, make us grateful.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, I told you before we started recording that I was in a vulnerable place today.
Yeah.
And I'm like fighting off the tears right now after listening to that. Oh,
Yeah, subhanAllah. No, that whole song, I mean, the third verse, especially the beginning, really touches me. Like, because so many pictures of different experiences come up personally together as a family, my wife and kids is, we've been through drama, we've been through trauma, we've been humiliated, we've been dishonored, we've been on top, and we also been conquered. Amazing phases of life we faced and moved onward. Never alone, though we might appear to be. The present of the present is nearer than me to me. And that's obviously I'm talking about Allah. Like and it's just it, that is like I said, words can't express what you mean to me. Like when I think about all the things I've been through, and we still here, like we still
yeah.
going, and it's by His grace, by His mercy, His generosity, and so and then what do we do with that when we realize that? Like, how do we show our gratitude? And that's a door that's so wide open. There is so many ways to manifest gratitude.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, the second verse beginning with which is literally an ayat from the Quran, which are the flavors of your Lord will you deny?
Yeah.
If we count, and I think I said in the first verse, if we count the blessings of Allah, we never stop. Like we would just never stop. So, friends, clothing, food, shelter, health.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, well, I didn't know that I was going to need my box of Kleenex for this
No.
episode today. So, excuse me while I'm sniveling over here.
Alhamdulillah.
And I mean, I wrote down a bunch of things that I would love to talk about, and we'll see what comes out. But the chorus with your daughter, you mentioned your daughter, that like recording with your daughter.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's magical. That chorus is magical. It really is. Uh, so I love how you interweave the concepts of gratitude, but also grace and generosity. And um, I also, excuse me, hopefully I won't be sniveling through the entire episode, but I also really appreciated that you have that line about attitude. Um, and can you tell me what that line is again?
So that's the intro. Is we gotta have an attitude of gratitude
Yeah,
and
got it.
watch the blessings increase in magnitude.
Yeah, very nice. I love that because I think sometimes we make the mistake of thinking, oh, I don't feel grateful. And what I love about that line is that it carries the truth of we it doesn't really serve us to think of gratefulness as a feeling. It serves us to think of gratefulness as an attitude. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I also love how you the line that you shared that was holds a special meaning for to you around being raised and being lowered, the being through trials and through difficulties. And that brings up for me that there's levels of gratitude. Like we can have kind of like a thanks for that.
Yeah.
And I try, and then I'll be honest, like this is one of the places where I have to work a bit at having an attitude of gratitude. Like every time Candace, my wife, says thank you to me, I have to be like, okay, stop, pause, and say heartfully, with presence, you are welcome, rather
Mhm.
than just being, dismissive.
Yes, yes.
You um, because that helps it like perk down, percolate a little bit, come in instead of just being on the surface. But then there's also that whole like, can we be grateful for the things that are going our way? But can we also, like we mentioned in the episode in our conversation around forgiveness, can we be grateful for like when we have conflicts?
That's
Can
the real test because I forget stuff a lot. It was a saying from I believe a Sufi master, but that level of being grateful when you're given things is no higher than the level of a dog or something to that effect. Like to be grateful for everything, and obviously, like we're saying here, but even the things that appear against us and not in our favor. That we like we talked. I think it was in that same about having a good opinion in this sorry episode.
yeah.
Having a good opinion, especially of Allah, of God, that it can help you perceive things in such a different way. And when you see it differently, God willing, you can act different.
Speaking of having a good opinion of God, um, I'm not sure you probably are familiar with this practice, but there's this practice in our tradition when we are in tough times to be grateful for um, that the difficulty is not worse than it is, right? Yeah. And one of my teachers says, when you're ever being really challenged, just look around because inevitably you'll find somebody who's got it worse.
Yeah.
So step one, be thankful that it's not worse. Step two, um, be thankful that you have the patience to endure. Three, be thankful that you have hope for some benefit coming out of the difficulty.
Uh,
And then step four, thankful that it's that whatever you're going through is not so bad that you've lost your religion or you've lost your faith.
mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And for those non-theistic listeners out there, I think you could think of that in terms of like being grateful that the difficulty that you're going through is not so bad that you lose your sense of self, that you lose your sense of who you are, uh, and what you want to do in the world, kind of thing, like. So I think there's wisdom in every tradition, and then we can learn from it in other traditions. So I think that we can share a wisdom from our tradition, and it can be translatable across traditions. So again, one, grateful that the difficulty is not worse. Two, grateful that you've got patience to endure it. Grateful that three, that there is hope for a benefit coming through it, and then four, that you don't lose your faith or your religion or your sense of self. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there in relation to like what what sort of undergirds those four things is having a higher opinion, like you just said. So
Yeah, no, and like in the last line of the first verse, being grateful just for the fact that we exist. Like that's something we like. Existence is something we almost take for granted, because ever as long as we've been. So it's like, of course, but that's not always. That's not a necessary element of reality. Like we say, we're contingently existing beings. And so our existence is gifted to us, at least from our understanding and tradition. And so being grateful for the fact that we exist. And then I used to say in like different teachings, when we have gratitude, just having gratitude is a endless well of gratitude, because once you arrive at gratitude, then you can say you're grateful for the fact that you're grateful.
yeah,
And a lot and then but you keep going, it never stops. So
yeah.
I'm grateful for being grateful that I'm grateful. Like you can just get into infinity with each gratitude. So you'll that's why like we'll never be able to have enough or show enough gratitude, and we'll always be lacking and deficient in that manner. So it's always something to build on. And again, from our tradition, the antagonist or Shaitan, Satan, Iblis, our enemy or the enemy to our trajectory is to face us, is trying to move us to a permanent or an end state of ingratitude.
Hmm.
And I think that's in the first verse too, about trying to make ingratitude a constant part of my being,
Yep.
and and then counting the blessings of Allah after that. And so it's gratitude is really a focal point for humans, or humankind, like just to really, and it's not, and it's I just want to say real quick, just it's when you say gratitude to God or Allah, it's not a separation. So it's like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him, said that whoever shows gratitude or whoever doesn't show gratitude to man is ungrateful to God. So it's like you also show it to your fellow creation. It's not just a otherness kind of thing. It's directed in the lived experience. Your gratitude towards God should be reflected in your lived experience with yourself, with creation, and with other people.
There's so much there. What you they're like that is so rich in wisdom. What you just shared, like there's way too many things that I want to points that I want to come back to. Um, so I love that you brought up the mention. There's the lyric, and again, sorry, but my brain is a little foggy at the moment. But you mentioned there's a lyric that gets to the fact that we practice it. Like it's a way to approach life, and it's not a passive thing. It's that there is an element of passivity in the terms of that we can receive it as a gift, but there's also the element of action in terms of it being an attitude, and it requiring practice and requiring an intention to make it a part of our life. part of our daily life, part of all of our life. So kudos for that. I also wanted to get to you talked about just existence itself, like, uh, and this gets into gets into, I think, why I was in a state of vulnerability when we started this episode,
Uh,
just because reflecting on gratitude for me, uh, and you also said actions. Again, there's so much stuff to unpack here. So, but okay, so gratitude. Life itself is a blessing. That's a lyric. Life is a blessing. That was one of the lyrics in the song. All right. And then there's something else that you said about action. So I've heard this saying that there is a gratitude of the tongue, a gratitude of the heart, and a gratitude of the limbs.
mhm.
You know, so if we have a gratitude of the tongue, we say thank you. If we have a gratitude of the heart, then that manifests through our limbs. Like, if it's a true gratitude of our heart, then we act in a way that symbolizes our gratefulness. Yeah, you're smiling.
No, 'cause no, that is such a reality that I think evades many of us. That people say, I believe it in my heart, but if it's in your heart, it'll also be on your limbs as well. And so, like, cause I think about it, why I smiled more was I had a daughter of an incident where, people were saying they loved the person and they were grateful for them. And I was listening to that, I was like, you really like, but how? Like, cause your way of being with this person is so oppositional. I said, if that's how you show your love and gratitude, I hate to see how you hate a person. And, and so it's just like, it has, there is a level where it's in your heart, it's not visible on your limbs, but we're trying to continue to grow. In this instance, this person has kind of been on that track for a while, mashallah. But
Yeah.
it's definitely more fruitful, more complete rather, to have it as an expression from your being through an action.
Yeah. It's like the purpose of our contemplation is to improve our action. Like, I know you've mentioned this before. Maybe it was in just one of our conversations where we weren't recording, but just like in our tradition, that we're not to go sit on the mountaintop or go sit in the cave. We're in, like, you need to live it, right?
Yeah.
You need to walk the talk, not just talk the talk, and which is different because you need to be engaged in the world, and it's like contemplation has value, but contemplation that manifests as action is real. So gratitude of the tongue is not the same thing as gratitude of the heart, which is not the same thing as gratitude of the heart that manifests in the actions of what you do with your limbs, what you,
Yes.
what you do with your body. Um, and not to take this into a heavy, but into a heavy topic, but to take it into a heavy topic. I mean, you are the man of real, right? So let's be real here. Um, you mentioned being life is a blessing, being grateful for existence itself. So, like, if you think about being grateful just for existence, just for being grateful for life, um, and yet you have some awareness. Now, granted, I will acknowledge that if your awareness of the world happens through CNN or NPR or Fox News or MSNBC or CBS or like pretty much any Western media, your awareness of the world, of what's happening in the world, is going to be very limited, right? The coverage, if you look at Al Jazeera, for example, your awareness of what's happening in the world is significantly different than from your awareness of what's happening in the world from a Western media source. That said, talking about being grateful for existence, grateful for life, um, it, I can't help but think about that there are emergencies, genocide emergencies and warnings in the world today, in India, in Sudan, in Zimbabwe, in Nepal, in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, in Syria, in Croatia. I'm laughing because this is where I start crying. It's like I'm laughing at myself for crying, and may God forgive me for the laughter, and because it's not, it's like in Palestine, like,
Yeah.
so it's like the weight of the tears is so much that I'm releasing that tension in laughter, and I and it's not a laughing matter, it's a heartbreaking matter. But if we're grateful for life as a blessing, if we are grateful for our existence, and there is a gratitude of the tongue and a gratitude of the heart and a gratitude of our limbs, then what are we doing as humanity? What are we doing when there are genocidal emergencies and warnings, and thousands upon thousands of people who are being denied their basic right to exist? How are we manifesting that gratitude with our actions, with our limbs?
And that's a tough one, especially in like those many places you mentioned, but in the state or the condition we find ourselves in today, presently, with the, I guess you could say, globalization or global awareness, where there's, you know, so much going on, and it's not just present because I think as long as I've been alive, there's been some craziness going on in the world. We just weren't aware of it as much.
Yeah.
And some injustices going on. But now we're inundated with, well, if you're plugged into a lot of news, or if that's what your algorithm is on, and you can actually burn yourself out just because, and this is my own personal belief. There was a conversation I had listened to that some former CIA trainer was talking about, but us as human beings, we have a limited capacity for, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word, caring. Because
Mm,
what get it, and what this former CIA trainer, what he was saying is that cities like New York and these mega cities,
mm,
he called them psychopath factories because there's literally too much people for you to care about, so you just stop caring, like
mm.
as a means of self-preservation. Because
Yeah,
they say if someone falls in New York, somebody just might walk right over them or just pull out their phone instead of actually showing care and tending to them. But it's
yeah.
because in the earlier human existence, tribal and just smaller existing societies, there was a way where you could show care. But if you were to do that in every instance that you come across in these heavily congested environments, you'll just burn yourself out. And I see it. I've seen it a lot growing up in the city where people just don't care. But I have to say, because I used to big up New York a lot, just because. we get stereotypes in the media, whatever, about being so rough and don't care and forget about it and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But people really do care. They really take care, like giving to people on the street. There's people that don't, but I remember when I worked on Fifth Avenue, I used to talk to this homeless guy, uh, and he used to express how much he was grateful for New Yorkers because he said if it wasn't for New Yorkers, he wouldn't be able to eat each day because he literally just panhandled every day. And so on my lunch break, I would sit with him and talk. And so just that element is also a part of it, but it can be on the everyday. And so like there's a time when you need to realize your capacity
Yeah.
because you do reach out, and I'm going through. I'm sure we've all gone through when with everything and being more aware of what's going on. It's like, what are we doing? And then at the same time, what making sure what we do actually has an effect.
Yeah.
Like, prayer is good. You can pray, but if you can do something and like with your limbs and touching like in your local, or even if your reach is long, if you have money or something or connections to be able to actually affect places, w- that's the best
Yeah.
avenue to be able to reach out and show that gratitude with what's within your grasp, and don't beat yourself out up for not being able to do what was beyond your capacity essentially.
I I appreciate what you're saying, and I want to both affirm it and push back.
Sure, sure.
Push back. So, it's in terms of affirming it. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Gregory C. Ellison II, but he is a minister. I think he's Baptist, maybe. But he wrote a book called Fearless Dialogues, and he talks about the wisdom that he got sitting on his, I believe it was from either his grandmother or an aunt. Like he calls it porch wisdom, like sitting on the porch, and the wisdom that he got from his whether it was his grant or his auntie, I don't know, but like he was a young, I think he was a child, and he was like giving voice to that desire to be able to change the world. And his beloved aunt, grandmother, whichever the case might be, was saying, maybe you need to concentrate on the 3 feet around you, like
Yeah.
like something around like if you can bring that intention to the people that you interact with most
Yeah.
immediately, like start with your family,
Yeah.
start with your physical family, start with your work family, like start with the 3 feet around you. And if you are going to bring peace into the world, you need to have peace in your own being and peace in the 3 feet around you. If you're going to bring compassion into the world and mercy into the world, you need to be carrying it in your own being and in the 3 feet around you and your interactions within that 3 feet around you. So I believe that there's a lot of wisdom in that. Like, and when you talk about like being aware, there's a lot of wisdom, I believe, in your comments around like being aware of what you are doing and the effectiveness of what you're doing, and making informed choices about that. I also want to like the pushback part of this is we in a previous episode we talked a bit about neuroscience and about
Uh,
mirror neurons and
yeah.
how physiologically we are made to be empathetic and compassionate.
Mhm.
So if we're not, and whether we're in New York City or out on the mountaintop, if we're not feeling compassionate, like that's a sign that somehow we need to engage in self-care.
Yes.
So
No, huge. That's huge.
yeah, so like if we're not feeling compassionate, if we're about to step over the person who just fell, like hopefully we can have enough self-witnessing and self-awareness. We're like, oh, I was just about to step over the person that fell rather than to care for the person that fell. Okay, that's a red flag on the play. What do you need to do to care for yourself? What do you need to do to settle your mind, ground your body, and care for your heart? And get to that, maybe you just need a nap,
Yeah, or to eat something.
maybe you need a
No, there's a
snack,
whole lot. Yeah.
like, but maybe you need to sit down and do whatever spiritual practice will really feed your heart, so you can be who you're meant to be, you know. And
Mhm.
this gets into what you were saying earlier about that lyric that comes from that ayat, which of God's favors will you deny? Uh, like we have gifts. So, like, some of us are gifted with patience, and some of us are gifted with strength, and some of us are gifted with creativity, and some of us are gifted with beautiful voices, and some of us are gifted with beautiful intelligence, and you get the picture, so on and so on. But we each are given unique gifts, and if we're not living those gifts in our action, again, we've gotten off. Like, we need to, like, pause. There's a flag on the play. How do I engage in self-care so I can truly be who I'm meant to be? And part of that is, in fact, cultivating an attitude of gratitude and cultivating actions of gratitude. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the part of witnessing that somewhere you need self-care, that is huge because I mean, New York is I actually went to one of the universities hoping to find a way to block what it might be. I don't even know, like some empathic feelings of taking
Mm,
on what you like. Because walking around New York, and you feel what people go through. You may feel what people. I don't know. Everybody may not have that, but in somebody you feel is like a just short circuit and walking around. They look outwardly like, oh, whatever, but
yeah.
you just feel something is off, and you ask them, oh, how are you? Everything? Oh, I'm fine. It's like, okay, can you get away from me then with your fineness? Because I'm feeling what you're feeling, and you may not want to share, but that level where we're as people not always aware of self
Mhm.
care
Yeah.
because we're on like autopilot a lot of times. Where life, there's a saying that or what is it? Numbs gratitude. Repetition numbs wonder,
Hmm.
and so every day we engage in somewhat the same things, have similar thoughts, but we become numb to the wonderness or wonderful reality that or existence that we have. Not about the things that we have, but again, finding the treasure of our existence.
Yeah.
Just again touching on that point, that existence, because it's right there in our face all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something they say about Allah, like he's hidden by his manifestation. And that's like his it's so in your face that it's hidden. Like that's
Right.
if you're not there, like that awareness. So I agree with that addition that you put onto it.
I will say that you bring up an important point in that, we're not all the same. So those of us that are highly empathic, we need to care for ourselves. The way we engage in self-care is going to look different from someone who is less in that way.
Yeah.
And I recall an incident where I was in New York in front of Madison Square Garden, and there was a guy who was drunk, and he fell down and hit his head on the concrete. And I felt it in my
Mm,
body.
mm,
Like, empathically, I felt it to such an intense level. And at the time, I didn't have the awareness to be like, okay, how do I, one, filter my empathic experience and care, and as someone who is sensitive, empathically, like how do I care for myself? You know, how do I care for my own mind and body in walking through this world this way? And since I've learned to sort of pay attention to my own heart, and I've realized that in the past, I tended to just sort of walk through life with a heart that was just like open like this. But if you do that and you are in interaction with other human beings, well, that's you're just setting yourself up for a world of hurt because you're gonna come across people that are whose hearts are like
Yeah.
you know, people whose hearts are like here, people whose hearts are here, people whose hearts are here, but you know, you're gonna get the whole spectrum. So part of like my own path of self-care was learning, oh, I need to pay attention to the state of my own self and my own protection, the state of how I am holding my body energetically, how I'm holding my heart, and how I um, interact with all of the different hearts that I come across on the day. And so I practiced. I just literally practiced. So that I want to bring up that point since you brought up the whole like being empathetic in New York. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I want to speak to the point of you have the lyric around life is a blessing, but then you also get into some real specifics and you're like, I think you mentioned clothing and you know, I forget
Food, shelter, family, friends.
food, shelter,
If I
family,
count the
friends.
blessings of Allah, the counting never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it one more time, if you would.
Uh, I got clothing, I got family, I got friends. If you count the blessings of Allah, the counting never ends.
Counting
And then
never.
before that, the line before I said I got uh clothing, health, shelter, and then family, friends. That was the next part of it.
Yeah. It reminds me of the idea that we have, and this comes from a hadith, a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, blessings and peace be upon him, that there are basic human rights, the home to live in, garments to clothe ourselves, food to eat, water to drink. And and so that lyric really gets to how we can lose our awareness of what we have, of all the things that we like we can take for granted
Mhm.
our the home that we live in. We can take for granted our the fact that we are able to clothe ourselves. We can take for granted the fact that we have food to eat or water to drink and forget that there's mass hunger and starvation in Haiti, Africa, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, Palestine. Forget that 40%, I think it's 46% of the world population lacks adequate clean water. So Niger, Papua New Guinea, the Congo, Ethiopia, Somalia, Uganda, Mozambique, and so on and so forth. You can forget the fact that I think it's in this. So this is a study 3 years ago, 2022, 44 million Americans live in food insecure households. Um, so I know we're getting into territory that's like, oh, that's a lot to take in, and that's a lot to like. We have limits in our capacity to hold. Um, but if we can cultivate an attitude of gratitude and actions of gratitude, then we want to be conscious of the blessing of food to eat, and we want to be conscious of clothing and shelter, but we also want to be conscious of the people who don't have that. You know, conscious of our brothers and sisters in humanity who are being deprived of their life, who do not have water, clean water, who do not have shelter, who do not have clothing. So make true
No,
these make true
go
these
ahead.
words What I want for you, I want for me. I just
Yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly. And the further another hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, peace and blessings be upon him, that whoever among you wakes up secure in his home, healthy in his body, and has food for the day, it's as if the whole world or the world and everything it contains has been granted for them. And so,
yeah,
like, to be grateful for that, and like you said, it's to be aware of those who don't have whatever it is, because it could be. Because I came across, sometimes in educated circles or academic rather circles, people forget that not everyone is educated,
yeah,
and that's a blessing in and of itself. 'Cause I remember reminding a few, I was like, there's people that think it's okay to kill somebody because they stepped on your sneaker. Like that's really like a thought for somebody, and you or we should be grateful that that's not our situation. Like
right.
that's another way, like, because there's a lot of ways of thinking that we have been saved from, and that is another area of gratitude. Like gratitude is a topic that I don't think really is a sea without shore.
I just want to I want to repeat that line because sometimes audio is not super clear. Gratitude is a topic that is a sea without a shore, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah. In other words, gratitude is a topic that is unceasing, that is an infinite topic. So, with that in mind, how do you practice an attitude of gratitude and actions of gratitude? Do you have favorite ways that you cultivate gratitude in your own heart and in your own actions?
yes, and I'm not always successful at doing it.
What? You mean you're a human being too? Oh no. Don't say it isn't so.
But what I really do, what really helps me ground, and I'm so thankful a lot when it actually is real for me, is sort of to ikhlas, like just that I love this surah, and just I bring that into remembrance, and not just like mind remembrance, but into experiential remembrance, which sounds crazy to some in a way, but to really that it's a level, it's a witnessing really, like, and that's, I don't want to make any claims, but it's just a way I hold it, that once when it lands for me,
Hmm.
then it's like it's a whole different way of being, because it's almost, I mean, in reality it's not from myself now, because I've come into a level of awareness that uh it life becomes real. Like it's not just me, it's not just you, it's us, it's a unity. And so to keep the continuity of the unity, once I reach that place, then to act from there. And it could be anything. That's why I love, like, just picking up a stick from the road, like where I work, people drop things. So picking up something, but from that place of intentional gratitude and awareness, it's just a different way, and a different way to be. And like I said, I can definitely can't claim to be a master, but when this reality becomes real for me, and it is more repetition than isn't. But like I said, I'm deficient. But when it does become real, it is such a breath of fresh air, because it can literally turn the whole day around, and it only takes a second.
So for our non-Muslim listeners, uh, would you connect some of those dots? So like
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
so not a non-Muslim is not going to know what Surah Ikhlas is. Or
So
uh
yeah.
or so can you help us connect the dots between what is it in Surah Ikhlas that helps, I guess, transform your state, connects you to, I might have misunderstood you, but I think that you were getting at a sense of unity.
Yes.
Yeah. So what, and then acting from that sense of unity, right? So if
Yes.
you,
So, alhamdulillah, if I can, Allah help me. Alhamdulillah. So, Surah Al-Ikhlas is the chapter of purity. It's the 112th chapter of the Quran. I'll just say, I'll read it in English. Um, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful, say He is Allah, the one and only. So I'll just stop there because I can really stop with that line or the first two lines really. Saying Qul hu Allahu Ahad, say He is Allah, the one and only. When this becomes a awareness that's not just in your mind, like when you look, everything that you're seeing, everything you're experiencing is being presented to you in that moment by Allah.
Mhm.
And so for me, it takes everything, it almost like you could say everything stops. The appearance of it existing on its own, it doesn't get interpreted in the heart that way. It is interpreted as a way of all is connected in a unity, and it is being given to you by the one, the only one.
Yeah.
And then Allahu Samad, Allah the Eternal, or I like one of the translations, the eternally sought after. And so
Mm.
that every existing thing is seeking its existence in every moment from Allah. And so when that grounds for me, then that sort of takes me out of myself and really like this is my Lord, my Lord that I'm witnessing, not through the eyes, but I'm in the presence, so to speak, in one way. And now to act from this state, to connect from, I mean, I always just kind of cautious in talking in this way without giving explanation in classes, but it's like, then it becomes from God to God.
Yeah.
Even though I'm seeing my hand and I'm doing something, that's just the image. But the reality is, like I said, every single thing is in a state of turning to God at every moment and being in that presence and in that awareness sort of moves you to kind of connect to whatever it is that's in front of you in one way or another, because connection doesn't always mean I always throw that in. It doesn't mean just hugging somebody's trying to kill you. Like, oh, I love you. Like, no, no, no. Sometimes it's to protect yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that for me is how like hopefully that was would give someone who's not from our path a way of understanding what I mean through like connecting with the chapter for the Quran. Because really, the next two lines, he begets not nor is he begotten, and there is none like him. That last one also helps too, because now you're witnessing the multiplicity, but you're not divorcing it from the unity or from the oneness of God. And so when you are able, and like I said, that's why I say I do, but it's not really me. Like, I mean, it is, I bring it up and alhamdulillah, there's times when it comes to fruition.
And we are grateful for the times that it comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for bringing the idea of mystical oneness together with your own practice and experience of gratitude, and how like connecting those points of the oneness of God, of the I want to hear you say that line again around the eternal, like, excuse me, the that every manifest thing is seeking, or every contingently existent thing is seeking its existence from God, is
at every moment. Yeah,
in every moment. That, I mean, wow, we could just reflect for like the rest of our lives on that one sentence.
that one.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So just thanks for connecting those dots around um, not separating, not allowing multiplicity and our experience of multiplicity to remove us from oneness, and allowing that sense of mystical oneness to come into gratitude, and to manifest in actions of gratitude, God
yeah,
willing. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, God willing. Um, so yeah, I just also want to just come back to the idea of the from God and to God. There's a Scott Russell Sanders is an author who, I think he grew up in a Christian household, and he's very much studied and immersed himself in multiple traditions. And he's sort of landed in a non-theistic, if I understand correctly, non-theistic belief. And so he refers to God as that beautiful permeate, what does he call it? That, no, that beautiful patterning power that permeates the universe, that both makes and unmakes.
MashaAllah. I like that.
So, if we can like bring our own awareness to that beautiful patterning power that permeates the universe, that both makes and unmakes, if we can bring our gratitude to that kind of awareness, then we will have whether we are in a theistic tradition or a non-theistic tradition. If we can do that, then we can have a gratitude that is a gratitude of the tongue, the gratitude of the heart, and the gratitude of the actions. So
Mhm.
yeah. Um, any closing thoughts?
Again, it's always an invitation to take the journey to, and this time we're talking about gratitude. Whatever little more you can be grateful, and how you express it, to whom you express it, try to increase it. I mean, this is the beauty of life. And so experiment. This is a good way of experimenting with life, where, increasing gratitude and trying to, and especially in those areas where you don't feel it. And
Yeah.
you can do it either way. Work it up where you feel that you can easily be grateful, and then build up, or go just straight for the deep end. Unfortunately, I jump in the deep end a lot more than I wade from the shallow to the deep end. I wouldn't recommend that all the time, because there's a lot of bumping and bruising that goes on with that.
There is a lot of bumping and bruising that can go with jumping in the deep end. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely gonna carry forward this idea, I that I that you didn't say this explicitly, but this is one of the ideas that I've espoused, that everything is a divine invitation, and that every experience is a divine invitation, and that we can cultivate our our uh, our attitude and our actions of gratitude if we look at everything as a blessing. Um, So I also want to take forward that sentence that I said we could spend a lifetime contemplating on, that, the bound that every contingently existent manifestation is longing for and seeking the existence from the truly existent, in every moment. Um, I think I could contemplate that again. I want to carry that forward. Uh, And then there was one other thing that I meant to say. Oh, I had mentioned this in the previous episode, but I just want to say this: what in relation to gratitude, that there's nothing that's too small. Like we can't. It's not possible to be grateful too much. If I don't know if I'm
Yes.
if I have any coherence right now, but like I'm just saying, you can be grateful for your baseboard. You know, you can
Yeah.
you can be grateful for a cloud that provides shade. Like, I mean, you could be grateful for a drop of precipitation on the window. Like, there's nothing that's too small to be
Mhm.
grateful for that. And then one of my practices that I mentioned in a previous episode with Brother Jamal Rahman, that actually something that he wrote or said inspired this. Like, okay, I recognized in myself, oh, sometimes I can be surface with my gratitude. So one of the ways that I want to try and change that to bring my surface gratitude into a gratitude of the heart and a gratitude of action is I try and touch my heart when I'm grateful.
Mm.
You know, when I notice, and again, it can be anything. It can be a tree. It can be a flower. It can be a clear sky. It can be anything. So, anyway, rambling on, we need to wrap it up. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. It's a blessing.
Thank you again for having this conversation and joining me and co-hosting so we can have a conversation about this topic. May this feed hearts that would like to grow in gratitude and experience the transformation that can come through consciously choosing to cultivate gratitude. Um, so, yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for being part of our journey together. May we be of those who are truly grateful. All right, so we're out of time, so let's wrap it up. Thank you again for joining us on Beyond Names. If you would, before we go, just take one breath and reflect for just a moment on what stays with you from this conversation or from the song, Grateful. May something you heard today help you reconnect with the light in your own heart. May you grow in compassion, clarity, courage, and gratitude. May you find your way home again and again, back home to yourself, back home to the divine, however you name it. If today's conversation spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it, to leave a review, to reach out. Until next time, may you be light, may you carry your light, and may you share your light. Peace be with you.